Well, hey everybody, Wes McDonald here, and I'm with my friend Kenneth Edmonds. How are you, sir?
I am great on another cruise ship in another part of the world, but it's nice to be here with you. And, it's interesting on this ship. There's a lot of Canadians. Now that you guys are starting to be able to travel a little bit, we're starting to see people out and around.
Well, that's great. Say hello to them for me, eh? So Ken's a little blurry today because of the cruise ship, but that's okay. It keeps coming in and out, but happy to have you back, buddy, and looking forward to hearing some of your travel adventure stories. And, speaking of travel, I was on the road for the first time myself, for the first time in 18 months last week. So that was super exciting to be able to get back into the trade show, saddle, right? And that's really what we're going to be talking about today, is just kind of breaking down the ITEX show now that we're a few days, sort of out and removed, and, really look at what we loved about it, what kind of things came out of the show, and to talk to some other people that were there, which are industry leaders and, were there in person themselves as well, right? So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We have an amazing lineup of guests that have generously given us a little bit of time to visit today. So that's always nice.
And hey, everybody out there in Flight Rate World land, leave your comments and questions here. So if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, when you do leave comments in the comment section, they'll show up live here on the program, and we'll be able to share them with our other viewers. So make sure you leave them here today. And obviously, as we'll be talking about ITEX, you can leave some of your notes and comments about what you felt about the show, kind of et cetera as well, right? And Ken, your favorite part is we always ask, which part of the world are you watching from? We do get a lot of viewers from around the world. And which part of the world are you in, Ken, on this cruise ship today?
I'm in Nassau on the Celebrity Summit today. So that's different than usual. In fact, pretty soon I think we should start having a contest to see if people can guess where I really am. Kind of like that old game, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? We can do Where in the World is Ken today. But, it's always nice to see where other people are coming from. So Wes is from Canada. I'm in the Bahamas today. Some of our guests are from the States. So where are you?
Well, speaking of guests, and I think all of our guests today are from the U.S., so I'm going to start bringing them in. So Mike Stramaglio, how are you doing, buddy?
I am doing fantastic. I wish I was on a cruise ship somewhere, but actually I'm in my man cave. Motorcycles in front of me. I'm doing great. And thanks for having me, Wes.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure, my friend. And hey, Eric, how are you, buddy?
Doing great. Thanks, Wes. It's great to be with all of you and today, and so looking forward to our discussion. So thanks again. It's great to see you last week.
It really was, live and in person. I completely agree. It was so good for the soul. And Earl Everson, my man.
Hey, Wes, how are you? How are you doing, guys?
Doing good, buddy. And to mirror what Eric said, it was really good to see everybody, with the exception of Ken, who was on a ship last week. And, it's one of those things when we start seeing these shows come back, just how exciting it is, to be able to feel the world changing in the right directions in our channel as well, right? Looks like I got quite a few comments in here, so I'm going to see where people are in. Hey, look, the organizer himself, Mr. Mark Spring. How are you, buddy? Coming in from lovely Davie, Florida. And Ingrid, there you are. What's up, lady? In from Ohio. And we got somebody on LinkedIn hiding, but from Savannah, Georgia. So whoever you are from Savannah, Georgia, welcome to the show today. And Melanie Patterson from Seattle, Washington. Great area, and good to see you. And our main man, Andy Slowetsky, who we also got to see last week. Really good to see you, man, at ITEX and cold-ass Rochester, New York. I hear you, buddy. The Canadian side of the border across Lake Erie, I probably have exactly the same weather you do today. And hello, bonjour, Aldo Spencieri from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Good to see you, my friend, and can't wait to see you in person soon, too. Got Kim Young in from Colorado. Hey, Kim, it was nice chatting with you yesterday, and I hope you're having an awesome day there in Colorado. Who else do we have in here? Matt, good talking with you yesterday as well. And I look forward to talking with you guys a lot more. Tuning in from Greensboro, North Carolina. I love North Carolina. And we got someone else in from Tampa, Florida, Solar Jack Podolsky. I don't think we've met, my friend, so welcome. Hope things are nice down there in Tampa. I'm sure they're better than they are here. What else we got here? Someone from Vienna, Austria. So to our friend on the other side of the pond, welcome. Thanks for coming in. Mark Spring, how am I not invited? Because we're talking about your show, man. We can't have like the show master on here. We're going to be talking about your show. So thanks for tuning in. We'll show all your comments. So whatever you want to throw in, buddy. Ron Curry, I haven't seen you in a long time. In Baltimore, how about the aged steak? Yeah, that was one of my favorite experiences. The first time I ever had an aged steak was with Ronald Curry when I was visiting their dealership. And I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. So just to let you know, Ron, there have been a lot of aged steaks in my life since, and I make them myself. Randy Dazzo, good to see you, brother. And really good to see your presentation at ITEX and be able to spend some time with you. Bill Franco, hey, chilly Denver, Colorado. Alfred, good to see you, my man. It was really nice to meet you as well. You are definitely one of the good guys in the space and an absolute pleasure. That's one of those things about ITEX is being able to meet so many amazing people. Frank Malik, good to see you, buddy, from North Carolina. That's number 2 from North Carolina. Kim Young, so excited to be here. That makes 2 of us. And Ed Barfield, the Sailor Group. We're getting tired of all the sunshine here in Florida. Well, that makes 1 of us. And OJ Coleman, good to see you back to Flight Rate World, one of our regulars. All right. Well, how exciting is that? Really nice to see everybody. We've got a ton of people from lots of different places. And now let's get into it. So one of the things that, at the show that we talked about, and it was through all of the presentations, Mike, I really enjoyed your fireside chat with Randy Dazzo. Randy speaking as well, and even myself in my presentation. But I think all of them, one of the things that is very clear is that the volumes are not, all coming back, right? So I'm just curious, are you guys all in agreement with that, or what are your thoughts, at least on the volume, issues that were raised at ITEX? And Mike, maybe I'll get you to start.
Yeah, great question. By the way, I loved everyone's presentations. Earl, I loved your spontaneous participation. That was awesome.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, very, very much on point. I think there was an interesting combination of things happening at ITEX. Number one, hats off to Mark, for continuing to do it, especially coming out of a serious situation over the last 18 months where we really don't know. But I think, Wes, your point is clearly the trade show business has changed. And it seemed to me if there's one big takeaway, and I've been thinking about this, I'm not sure there's a need for long-term sustainability with a trade show as much as a knowledge show. When you see the sessions full, when you see what happened at our event, when you get a standing room only crowd, clearly there's a need for people to seek information, share information, have a great dialogue. And my takeaway again is that I think, trade shows in the past are about the past. And everything that we're going to be doing forward, I think is going to be less trade show. I mean, you can get anything online. What do you need, other than face-to-face contact? But my takeaway is that it's about knowledge transfer. When Earl got up and spoke, people were listening. They're paying attention. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, is a litmus test for what Mark is doing. So next generation, Mark, I think more focus on knowledge, conversation, education, and frankly, a little bit of crystal ball about where we're going, because we're all kind of in the dark on that one, I'm guessing.
Yeah, isn't it true? I love what you say, though, that it really is. It's not really as much a trade show as it is an education exposition, right? And yeah, all of the sessions were absolutely full, and it's amazing to see and to learn. That's one thing I've always loved about this channel is, the amount of learning, right? Mm-hmm. And Eric, how about yourself? How did you feel about, sort of that, the learning and the education?
No, I think it was, we were talking earlier, it was more about the side conversations and, finding the right people that know what's going on, right? And so when we had conversations about compensation, talking about, how people are diversifying their business by doing things in a different way, selling different things as well. And so lots of great conversations on and off the floor. And so that was really appreciative. And I think the biggest thing is just, how to make those connections. How do we get, dealers or even software companies and parent companies together to kind of share some missteps maybe, or the good things that are working, so somebody else doesn't get into the same problem. So, I'm a big proponent on, peers. That's why, I'm in the MPSA. I'm working with competitors together for the best of the industry, right? And so I think that's, for me, it's trying to find out, how do we get people that are interested in certain topics connected to people who know about those certain topics in the channel, so that we can build a better channel overall. So for sure, that was great conversations, personal ones as well as professional ones. So it was great. And I have to steal something from Tanya Stone real quick.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, our industry is all about 3D sometimes, but it was great to see everybody in 3D versus seeing everybody in 2D on the screen. So again, it went a lot further. So yeah, those are my 2 cents there.
Yeah, the peer stuff I absolutely love, right? And always good to see everybody, to see Mike and Earl. We'd never met before, right? Like, it was actually the first time that that we'd met, right? So what are kind of some of your highlights and takeaways from being there for the the first time together?
Yeah, back to Mike's point too. This expo ITEX, I think it should be driven more to a knowledge base, and I was hoping there were going to be more dealers that I could pick their brain, because that's what it's all about. It's kind of learning the best practices across the board, what's working, on a regional basis, on a national basis, and what can we take away and bring back to our local, area to try to implement. I think it's more than just implementing IT and things like that. It's like, what is working from a marketing standpoint, from obviously if click rates are going down or the print volumes, then do dealers still need to race down to the bottom, or is it time to kind of turn the clock back and start charging more on a CPC? I mean, there's so many different ways to attack it. But back to Mike's point, I think just having a knowledge-based session and to pick brains, that's what I really want to take away.
Yeah, I loved it. And the education sessions that were there were great. So Mark says, if we're getting our tennis back, it'll be through a unique opportunity. That's what ITEX has always been, and what we'll develop for. The trade part will be around the content. Yeah, absolutely agree.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a nice ad, Mark. Yeah, I think, when you talk about peers working with other dealers, that's really where the best knowledge comes from, right? So I think the education tracks that a lot of us, deliver and stuff can help inspire some conversation, but the real work is, dealer to dealer, peer to peer, right? As you start to explore that. And I had a great time meeting Alfred and some other dealers that I know you work with that I haven't met with before, and just learning things through those conversations, right? Absolutely love it. So everyone else if you've just tuned in, please make sure, if you're on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, there's Ken Edmonds, and make sure you leave your comments, et cetera, Ken. And you missed ITEX this year, so how did that feel?
Well, I did miss ITEX. I had made some other arrangements ahead of that, and I regret not being there. I really wish I'd been there. But I would say I'm going to revert back to the show before that, which was BTA in Nashville, because I was there and you were there virtually. And again, it was interesting to see that the focus on knowledge, the focus on learning to diversify. One of the things we did there that was enjoyable was we had a panel discussion from dealers that are expanding out. But I think, again, probably very much like it was at ITEX, at least half of what dealers walk away with is the side conversations they had with other dealers that were there with them.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And I really enjoyed the fireside chat with, Mike and obviously our friend Randy Dazzo. And I think that dealer, interaction is important too, right? And hats off to Mark Spring. I mean, that's one of the things he made very clear when we were kind of building presentations, like, hey, can you get some dealers on there with you so you're not just up there, talking, right? And, so two of the ones I had were virtual, but just a special shout out to Dan over at Marco and to Mr. Bendix at Bendix Imaging. for contributing some video content. And Earl, for you being there in person, right? Because I really do believe that's the power of these things, is to get, the voice of the dealer. All I can do, all anyone can do that's speaking up there, is sort of frame the conversation and spark some stuff. And it's really up to dealers, like Earl and like Dan and others to be able to share what's really happening, right? So Mark, thanks for that. And for anyone that did presentations, I didn't get to see all the shows, but it really is important to make sure that we do get the voice of the dealer into those things, because at the end of the day, if we're not here for the dealers, who are we here for, right? So, all right. Now, one of the topics that came up, obviously, was supply chain issues. I know that we talked about that, and it's certainly not going to get better. Have you guys seen the news in the Canadian Northwest and also the U.S.? What's going on with that? What do they call it? An atmospheric river? So I just found out this morning that the entire supply chain from Vancouver to the rest of Canada, so is gone. Like, there's no railroad, there's no highways, there's nothing because of the flooding, right? So with the with the rest of the supply chain issues that we're going through, like, talk about adding insult to injury, right? Mother Nature is just hammering us right now, right? So that was one I really enjoyed, sort of talking about there as well, and some statistics. And I think, Mike, you spoke about it. Like, I'm pretty sure it was you. You said we're still probably a year and a half, away before we get back to normal or so, right?
Yeah, I'd like to be more optimistic, but I don't see it. I mean, I know the OEMs are struggling dramatically, and depending on the day and the brand, Canon could be on top one day, and the other one next day it could be somebody else. But it's going to take a long time to catch up and sort it out. And it's not just the OEMs. I mean, you just mentioned it. I mean, you got Mother Nature, you've got ships and ports for 6 months, and I mean, it's just a mess. And frankly, again, I'm usually a pretty optimistic person, but I think caution and not even cautious optimism, I mean caution, really needs to be exercised. I think the dealers are going to need to work harder together to do a Craigslist, swap out program. Clover and Caton are definitely going to have to step it up, and the OEMs are going to have to change. But again, I think resilience in the dealerships is something that's a staple.
Yeah.
And I have confidence that dealers are in far better shape to be able to manage what they're doing than frankly all the other unfortunate key components of this mess. I mean, it's just a mess. Now, if you listen to some of the OEMs, they'll tell you they'll start coming out of it in Q1, going into Q2. I would agree with that, depending on the OEM. But I think the hole is so deep and frankly unpredictable. So I would really communicate and share whatever my expertise can lend to the dealer community. Be prudent, be wise, start to communicate with a family of friends so you can swap stuff out. So that's what I see.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting, Mike. Like, you're on, one of these top 100 calls that we do in the afternoons as well, right? And listening to, some of the folks, some of the major distributors last week, talking about the fact that even they're, diversifying, what they distribute and how they're moving stuff, right? And a little plug there for Mark Spring, by Mark Spring for Copylight. Absolutely. Yeah. And, as a dealer, Earl, what kind of projections and things are you seeing, right? Like, what is your take on this whole supply chain issue?
I mean, it's a great question. Again, it's to be honest, I'm just pacing myself right now. I'm in it for the long haul, and I'm trying to project, 6 months out, 12 months out, and watching the supply, the equipment chain, the whole thing, because it's going to hit us. It's just a matter of how hard, and how can I kind of be proactive on my side as much as possible. So, COVID was one thing, but now the lack of supplies and equipment is another issue. So clearly thinking outside the box from how can we fund deals, how can we close business and provide, everything that we need to do to keep going is going to be, it's going to be a challenge, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out for sure.
Yeah, we always have, right? And Ken, I know you've got some particular expertise, and it sounds like from what Mike is saying and Earl is saying on pacing and potentially having to use some, Craigslist stuff, like just trying to get some kind of equipment, right? From a service perspective, that's obviously got to be a challenge as well.
Well, I think it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but I think this is a good opportunity. And this is something I've talked about a lot, is that there are opportunities to repurpose equipment. I have seen so much good used equipment sitting in dealers' warehouses, and rather than looking for ways to reuse it and put it back out. And this is where, a flat rate program is perfect, because you don't have to guarantee new equipment. You just have to guarantee to a customer equipment that'll do the job. So if you've got good used equipment in your warehouse, I would look at putting it back out. Make sure that it's something that your service team is going to be able to care for, that the parts are available. But I think that that's an opportunity for dealers to significantly increase their margins and, weather this storm. Because if you have equipment that you can place, then that at least reduces the stress on your supply chain.
Yeah, and certainly with your background in service, right, that it will, certainly keep people a little bit busier, right? And Mary Williams adds here that we're happy to be there to show dealers another product line to add to their portfolio. The new remote workforce has almost forced the hand of customers to adapt. By offering document management with automated workflows, you're adding stickiness with your customers. Yeah, absolutely, right? So it's not necessarily about pages, that there's still an opportunity. I think we forget sometimes that people still have to work. And if these digital workflows are helping people to work, then we can make some more money, right? And, I know for you, Eric, obviously you're kind of like me that, we don't really have physical things in our offerings, right? So, for me, consulting or training, for you with software, right? Offering these different solutions, the supply chain doesn't impact us as much, but it's all related to those things, right? So what are you seeing out there for supply chain, and have you guys been talking about it?
Yeah, what we've been seeing is the partners we're working with, they may have been trying to go with like one brand of product. They can't do that anymore because they have to, use a little bit of this and use a little bit of that based off what they have available. So, as a multi-vendor, software solution, we can help them to be able to provide the services they're expecting now. Compliance and security issues are not going away. And so they still have to offer that to those clients. And so we're finding an uptick on dealers that are MPS providers that are unexpectedly having to provide multi-vendor support. And they know that we can deliver. So that's the kind of things we're looking at today, and just being ready to support them.
Great.
Hey, well, if I could just add a little exclamation point. I think that was Mary Williams, and I couldn't agree more. That's a miss on my part. The best thing that I think somebody could do is, in fact, start looking at software alternatives, whether it be document management or any number of things. I mean, that's why we created the consortium, to have all these companies that can deliver these solutions. But I agree with you. Earl just said you're going to figure it out. You will figure it out. But I think Mary raises the critical point. Layer in a better menu of products and services that are not tied to the supply chain. And that is probably the best takeaway you can have from this call. Start looking seriously at things that are incremental, whether it be revenue and or service type products. So my encouragement, Mary, thanks for bringing that up. That's a really good point.
Yeah, I love it, right? And this idea that when you're selling cloud-based solutions, there is no supply chain issue, right? That it's a completely different game, right? And I think that was one of my takeaways from the show as well. I know Randy was talking about e-commerce as well, like how that can sort of help the the businesses. But I think maybe next year, like having more of these sessions that are talking about some of these new cloud-based everything as a service sessions, right? Offerings. And I did talk about sort of subscription and how everything is going to be subscription, and these cloud-based solutions that Mary's talking about. Perfect, right? Add that incremental, revenue. So really good ad, Mary. Appreciate that. Well, I wonder if we could talk for a minute just about some of the things that you enjoyed socially. Did I hear, Eric, that you were singing well? Did you do one of the karaoke nights?
Oh yeah, it's kind of one of those things. Kind of let your hair down if you have hair, and you meet different people that you probably never met before, and you sing with people that you definitely wouldn't had the opportunity. So and Mike does a great blue eyes, so I appreciate that. So that's that's really good. So so it's great to be to be together outside the event and be social as well. So it's great to work with people that you learn a lot about them outside of the office and outside the industry, and we're humans, so it's great to be together like that. So thanks again, Mike. That was really great.
Yeah, you're welcome. I had fun. Randy too. Thanks.
Yeah, I hear that Randy is like a big karaoke fan, and I'm sorry I didn't get out for that, particular event, right? But Earl, I did enjoy some time with you for dinner and for breakfast, and I actually think that breakfast that we had, with Alfred and some of the others was one of my favorite parts of the show. I think we sat there for probably a couple hours,
Yeah.
just talking through the stuff in the industry, etc. Right? So, super fun, right? We have here Mark Springs. Very important that dealers reposition themselves through marketing to their current base. Easy market segmentation. Yep, we all know those customers, right? Oh, and there's Randy. Yeah, the karaoke master himself, saying great karaoke with Mike and Eric. Well, listen, guys, I cannot thank you enough for joining in this morning to talk a little bit about ITEX and what a great show. And Mike, I'm certainly looking forward to the rebirth of ECS. And certainly give you a second to plug that show because that's the next one, right? So, what's happening at ECS this year?
Well, ECS January 16th through the 18th. If you're able to come, please, we'll get you the registration link. You take a look at it. But the thing I'm really excited about, COVID shut it down. When I sold MWA to Konica Minolta, they didn't have any interest in continuing it. So when I left Konica Minolta, then COVID hit. Now I started it up again. And like I said, the response from the marketplace has been absolutely enormous. And to prove, I guess one of the big points for Mark and for all of us, we have Marco, we have Impact Networking, we have POA, we have all covered. All copy. We have executives from Microsoft and some of the OEMs. And we just have a plethora of people, really industry leaders that are showing up to this thing. It's a very intimate group. It's very conversational. The whole theme is business agility going forward. Somebody said a little while ago, how do we get smarter, quicker? But I invite you to come. And we have, like I said, normally we have 200 people. We were a little conservative. We said 150 because we don't know about what's going to happen with the pandemic. But I'm pretty comfortable that we're probably going to be pushing 200 again. And if you can come, it just validates the fact that if the content is there, if the people are there, new people to listen to, not to each other, but listening about AI from Microsoft directly, one of the leaders of their company.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. So I'm excited about it. And Wes, I thank you for the opportunity to plug it again. And I think this you're doing right here is really important to continue to, I advocate it, so I hope people will continue to share it too. So good work. And it was nice to meet all of you face to face. I see you on LinkedIn all the time. Now I can say I know you.
Yeah, I know. Simply the best.
So thanks, bro.
Yeah, simply the best. Bringing together of old friends in the industry and new ones as well. So hey, everybody, I just want to wish you all the best, for the rest of your day and for the rest of your week. Happy selling and just continue doing what you're doing, innovating, bringing people up and making sure that we're driving this industry forward. So, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Wes.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, everybody.
Well, Ken, how fun was that?
That was very fun.
Really like being able to see
it.
everybody.
And it was interesting. I just make one quick point. On my podcast yesterday, I had Daryl Amy. And he and I were talking about some of the same things about the need to start to really penetrate the customer base. You know what I mean? You and I have talked about that a lot. But so many dealers get just such a small piece of the business that exists in their existing customers. They could probably double or triple their business just with their existing customer base by finding other ways to serve them.
Yeah, completely agree. And some nice comments coming in from people too for for the thing. And really nice to see some folks. Ron, I miss you, man. We'll have to catch up. It's been too long. And Hero, good to see you. And it was really good to see you in person last week at the show, right? And Melanie, thanks for your comments. Great post-show roundtable. ITEX was super fun event. agree, continue the connections, and expand the knowledge to help our clients through solutions. And thank you very much to Mark Spring and team for putting that show together. And I'm telling you right now, I'll be there next year. So
I will be there too. I will not be on a cruise ship next year.
Yeah. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in.
No,